Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. And it is Tuesday. Na na. I know that song's from a different day, but I figured it would be fun. I'm feeling very good, as I hope you are too. 88% happy. Because that's my job. I'm on a mission, 88 million more 88% happy people in the next 8 years. And if you haven't heard this reason why there's so many eights, well, if you're streaming right now, then you probably can't see me. So you might think I'm Swedish, but I'm actually Chinese. And when you watch this later on YouTube or any of the other platforms that I'm on, you'll know that 8 is a lucky number in Chinese. And because of that, everything pretty much that I do is in eights. And you don't want to be 100% happy anyways, because that means you're dead. I want 88 because it's close to 100, but you have still enough contrast to know when you're happy and you're unhappy, so that you can hashtag choose happiness. That is the rose-colored Kool-Aid I'm trying to get you to drink on a daily basis now here on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, and FM 106.5. The station that leaves no listener behind, and I don't want you to be behind in your happiness. I want you to be in front, hashtag unconditional happiness. So this show, I will always be talking about ways in which you can look at things. Maybe that'll make you feel better about them. Nothing necessarily has to change, but the way that you're focused on things may be leading you down the garden path that has a bunch of negative weeds in it, bringing you to a place where you're just, WTF, which we're going to hear about later on in my third segment. I'm delighted to bring you an interview that I had when this was a weekly show. Greg O'Brien is an award-winning journalist who developed early onset Alzheimer's. And he was kind enough to interview me, or let me interview him. Also, if you are and it was an amazing interview. I still will classify it as one of my favorite interviews, where I met a man who definitely takes his limelight and his skill set and his unique abilities as a journalist and a writer and turns it around and helps all of us understand Alzheimer's from the inside out, which was just phenomenal. So stay tuned for the third segment of today's morning show. And then the second segment, I am happy to have a question of the day again. Last week we had tons of guests, so we didn't have many questions, but it seems to be a popular segment. If you would like to ask me a question and have me pre-record that segment to play on the air and try to either stump me or give me a question about a number of areas where I give advice that maybe I use and maybe I don't use, thanks to the title of my show, then please do. And just go to drmarissa.life or hit the schedule button on the You Can Book Me. It's Dr. Marissa 1, and schedule some time and I will help you with that. And today's question of the day is about relationships. So if you in particular have been dumped in a relationship and you're feeling pretty crappy about it, there's actually another way that you can feel about being dumped. And it does not involve drowning your feelings. So stay tuned for segment 2 today, this morning, on my show for that question of the day. I also wanted to highlight some of the things that are going on. This is the What's Up Doc segment of my show, where I get to share with you things that in the community, what's right with people, what's right with the news. Normally people, when they wake up, they start scrolling on their smartphones, and I'm pretty guaranteed that one of the things you'll end up saying is, what's wrong with the world? What's wrong with people? Come on, be honest. You start reading those headlines, and by the end of the stories, you're like, what is wrong with people? So because my show is all about balance, balancing out all those things that are not necessarily wrong or bad, I wanted to highlight what is right with people, what is good with people. And today is no exception. If you know anyone who has a pet and who cannot afford pet care, there's a great group called Elevet that I was sent by my New York news agency yesterday to go and cover downtown in front of the rescue mission down there. And I went down and met 2 lovely people who are actually going to come on and talk to me tomorrow. So that's something to look forward to. But it's 100% free veterinary care, a national nonprofit mobile relief effort that helps pets in the homeless community. 100% free supplies and food. They began a 4-day tour yesterday, and they're in front of the Union Rescue Mission in Skid Row and servicing all those in that neighborhood. After that, they're moving on to Venice. So if you know anyone who is temporarily homeless, have been very severely impacted by COVID, then please do let them know. It's a giant monster bus that they set up camp, and they have lots and lots of wonderful, caring, homeless pet owners that are taking advantage of this service. If you would like to be part of the help, go to vetproject.org, where you can find out more, volunteer, be part of the financial support for that group. And again, as I said in my interview with them, just hashtag Dr. Marissa Reporting Live. You'll see the Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn segments where I interview them and highlight them, because that's my job. I want to highlight those people and places and things that are creating the positive action of hashtag Be the Change. So check that out. Come back tomorrow for their interview on what they're doing, why they're doing this, and come right back for the question of the day here on Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. We'll be right back. And we're back. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. And you know how I love to try to help people find 88% happiness. And we have a caller who is ready for that. Pearson, welcome to the show.
Yes. Hello. How are you?
Oh, there you go. And Pearson was just telling me before we got on that he actually has heard me before and watched a show. So tell me what you said before.
Oh, I enjoyed your show when you had Neil Donald Walsh Carlton Pearson and Michael Beckwith as your guest speakers. That was just a wonderful show.
Oh, thank you. And let's just breathe in together so I can mind meld with you. So take a deep breath in through your nose and release. Soft shoulder, soft elbows, soft knees. Another deep breath in and releasing all the stories and the drama. One last deep breath in. Connecting with me through chi, eternal energy, the breath of life, which is connecting us all. And that's the Just Breathe with Dr. Marissa entry into the question of the day. So tell me what your question is.
Well, it is a relationship question. And
all right.
My question is dealing with the shame, the guilt, and rejection after a long-term relationship has ended.
So, all right, great question. And the good news is you're not alone. You're not the only person on the planet who has had this happen, where you have a relationship. How long was the relationship?
6 years.
6 years. So you were with this person for
Yes.
6 years, and I'm guessing that you had expectations that it was going to last longer.
Correct. Had expectations of marriage and children.
Yeah. So you wanted to build a family with this person, and so you, were together. Were you living together?
No, we were not living together, but we were just on the cusp of actually purchasing a house together and moving in together. And right before that happened, that's when things dissolved.
Okay. And was it both? I'm guessing it was her or his idea to dissolve and not yours?
Yes, it was her idea to dissolve the relationship,
Okay.
not mine.
So after 6 years and you were on the cusp of buying a house together, she said, I'm not in love with you anymore, or what did she say?
She said that, yes, pretty much. She felt like that she was not in love with me anymore. She felt like we had spent enough time together and that we just kind of ran our course. Left me confused, of course, because just weeks before, she wanted the things I mentioned as far as a house, baby, and a marriage.
Right. So you took those to heart and you thought this was going to be. So now, has she done this before?
With me or another individual?
Both.
Um, with another individual, I'm not sure, but she has been kind of iffy with me, if you will. And I mean iffy as far as wanting to separate, have some space, and then get back together.
Okay. So there is a little bit of history or a little bit of track record on this one. Yeah. She wants
Yes,
her
ma'am.
space, and then she wants to be together and she wants her space, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And
So
probably more so of maybe she's just not sure what she really wanted. Previous times,
okay.
we actually had a previous breakup where she kind of said the same thing, but then quickly changed her mind.
Okay. So let me ask you this. When you are feeling sad about the breakup, so I'm guessing there's some voices saying, how could this have happened? Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I wasn't loving enough. I don't know why. She it seemed like it was great. How could I be so wrong? Why is this happening to me? Any of those things?
Yes, exactly. A lot of shoulda, could-haves, would-haves run through my mind.
Yep.
And the one that really stands out is, was I, being a male, I ask myself, was I man enough for this lady?
So I'm going to reach out and talk to your balance-centered Pearson. So everyone has a cast of characters in my book, literally in 8 Ways to Happiness. But and the first thing that we do is we make friends with all those voices. So the balance-centered one of you is the one I'm going to give you some language to use with the one that's beating you up. So the one that's beating you up is your critic, and he's saying, you obviously weren't good enough or man enough, or if you were, she wouldn't have done this, and shoulda, woulda, coulda, and you're just never going to be with anyone who is going to want you for a long term. And that person is your critic. And I want you to give your critic a name. So who give me the initials of the person who was most critical of you when you were a kid.
The initials would be RM.
RM. So whenever that voice starts coming up for you, I want you to just take a breath. Take a breath with me. And picture yourself talking to someone else named RM. And I want you to actually say, hey, bud, thanks a lot for the vote of non-confidence. You're saying a bunch of stuff that is really not nice, and it's not true. And I don't know why, because I'm not her. And I know that I did, or we did, as self, right? Balance-centered self. We did the best that we could. We weren't perfect. We weren't the perfect person, but probably most of the time you were a pretty good person. You sound like a pretty good person. Would you say you were a pretty good person for 80% of the time with this woman?
Yes, doctor, I would.
Okay, so I hear that you're not happy with me. I hear that you're saying that I could have done better, but honestly, I think I did pretty well, right? I did the best that I could. And I want a woman who matches me. So yeah, it was 6 years. Yeah, you would have thought that that was enough time. And her version is we ran our course, and that's possible. It's possible. There is what I call a book of romance. And sometimes the chapters are super long, and sometimes the chapters are shorter. And it sounds like this was a 6-year chapter. And I wanted it to be longer, but isn't it a good thing that this happened before we bought a house together?
Yes.
Right? And isn't it better that I'm open and available for a woman who doesn't change her mind every 4 years?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Yes. So do I love and respect myself as a man enough to find a better match for me?
Wow. Yes. Yes, I do.
Yeah. So and she's not bad. She's not a bad person. She's not, an evil person. She had great qualities enough that you wanted to spend time with her for 6 years. But guess what? You want a woman who matches you. And from her decisions and what she's saying, she doesn't match you. That's all. That's all this
Yes.
is she
Yes.
isn't a match. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So your
I know where you're getting
balance-centered
at.
self is the one that you're going to, you're still going to have those thoughts and you're still going to be sad sometimes. Of course, this was, a good chunk of your time, and it was a chunk of your relationship, and it was, a big chapter in your book of romance, but it's not the only chapter.
Okay.
Okay.
Understood.
Does that feel better?
It does. That's a much better, healthier perspective.
Yeah, and that you can choose that perspective any time of the day, before or after you're sad. Time
Correct.
you'll not be so sad. Right now it's fresh and it's going to be sad, and the sad part of you that was never allowed to cry when you were a kid, you can let that part of you cry. That's your inner sad one. And I want you to let that sad one cry, because tears are the disinfectant that will keep your heart soft. But after you've let those tears go for a bit, then you can get back in the driver's seat as balance-centered you. And I wish you the best of everything, because the next chapter, you know what you're looking for, right?
Yes, I do. Definitely.
Awesome. Well, I'm just delighted that you're feeling better. I hope you call back in and let me know. I know the next one's you're gonna be like, oh my God, Dr. Marissa, I had no idea that this was gonna be possible. Okay?
Yes. I'm believing in
All
that.
right.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel.
I wanted to give you applause. This is Dr. And we'll be right back with more of Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. And welcome back. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. Happy Tuesday. Tuesday. I don't think that's the actual words, but wasn't that a great question of the day? I hope that if you are in a similar boat where you're feeling a little capsized because of a relationship gone wrong, that you remember there's literally many chapters in your book of romance, otherwise known as Many Fish in the Sea, which we've always heard, but it is true. And that the BS belief system that there's only one, and if that doesn't work, you're doomed for the rest of your life, is exactly BS. A belief system that's going to get in the way of your happiness, especially with relationships. So hopefully that was helpful to you. If you would like to ask Dr. Marissa a question that she, take my advice, I'm not using it, but I do use my own advice, 88% of the time. But if you'd like to try to stump her, or better yet, if you would really like some advice, I do life balance coaching. I have private clients. So I use the advice that helped me with my own unhappiness. And that's the point of view that I write my #1 bestseller, 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are. And the advice that I give are from those pages in that book that I was grateful to be on tour with before COVID hit. But it hit 8 bestseller list, #1 on Amazon, #4 on Denver Post the day it came out, 6 on happiness, 8 on success. So I believe that its popularity is because people are actually getting happier when they're taking responsibility for their choices. In short, you are the boss of you in every way. And those of you who listened in yesterday for Monday show, Monday, I think that's really what it was supposed to say. Well, I had a great doctor on, Dr. Monique Hedmann. And if you want to listen to that, if you missed it yesterday on my AM 1050 channel during my morning hour, 8 to 9, you can get it on my free subscribe YouTube channel, Dr. Marissa. Just Google that, you'll find it, and you can listen to that episode. But she brought up another area that triggered my memory of a fabulous interview that I got to do. One of my best interviews, one of my favorite interviews in my 479 consecutive weeks on the air. I interviewed Greg O'Brien, who is an award-winning journalist who contracted early onset Alzheimer's. And his interview was so groundbreaking and so enlightening. I've never understood Alzheimer's until I had that interview with him. So I thought I would find it and share it with you today because we talked about it yesterday, and Dr. Monique's art therapy for Alzheimer adult care that you can also check out. But I wanted you to hear this firsthand. He describes having what it's like to have Alzheimer's in a way that we can understand it. So please enjoy.
Greg O'Brien is an award-winning journalist diagnosed with younger onset Alzheimer's disease in 2009 at the age of 59. With more than 35 years of experience as a writer, editor, investigative reporter, and publisher, his work has appeared in the Associated Press, Huffington Post, Psychology Today, Reader's Digest, U.S. Today, and Boston Magazine, where he was a senior writer, among other publications. Greg has spoken across the country about his experience living with Alzheimer's disease, has been featured in a documentary film, Living with Alzheimer's, A Place Called Pluto. If you haven't seen it from my Facebook post, please do watch it. It is so powerful and so beautiful, and I dare you not to cry. He's been on NBC News and National Public Radio. He's currently contributing a regular column to the Huffington Post and Psychology Today. Greg is the editor, author of several books, including On Pluto, Inside the Mind of Alzheimer's. Simply put, this man gives hope to those who are lost and a voice to those who cannot speak. Please welcome to my studio the inspirational and fabulous and honored to be on my show, Greg O'Brien. Welcome, Greg. And we've had a couple of challenges, but so worth having you on here. And I'm so honored, too. You were just interviewed by Maria Shriver last year, and now you get to come on the show with the Asian Oprah, who usually asks her famous guests one question to start with. I have a friend who has not an answering machine, but a questioning machine. And when you call her, it says, "Who are you and what do you want?" So, Greg O'Brien, who are you and what do you want?
Well, I'm Greg O'Brien. Every day I try to figure out who I am with the new me. Alzheimer's is a slow progression of a disease. And you have to walk, I believe, in faith, hope, and humor. I did a little of that when I first met you before the show, because you said that you were having a deaf translator, and I misheard, and I thought you said DEATH, and that you knew something that I didn't know. And so I'm honored to see that this wonderful woman who is translating. So,
yes.
but you by way of background, my maternal grandfather and my mother died of Alzheimer's. My paternal uncle died several months ago. before my father died, he was diagnosed with dementia. Several years ago, I began the horrific symptoms of short-term memory loss, not knowing where I was and who I was, um, and then I had a serious head injury, which doctor said unmasked the disease in the making. And I had the brain scan, the SPECT scan, and the clinical tests that confirmed the diagnosis. And I also carry the Alzheimer's marker gene APOE4, and people can look that up and research it and learn about it.
That was in 2009. So try to take me back to that time to help people. The beautiful thing that you're doing is really helping people understand this disease, because it's, I think, 44 million in the world who have it, and it's one thing to hear about it, and I don't know anybody who doesn't know someone who's been touched by it. It's like Parkinson's. My mom has Parkinson's, and it's one thing to sort of hear about it, but to actually understand from someone who has gone through that. Take me back to 2009. What kinds of things were happening that made you realize there was something off?
Well, I had a front row seat with my mother and my maternal grandfather, so I got to see firsthand the symptoms and recognize them. They were horrifying for me. And there was a time where I was in denial, and there's a chapter in my book which is a quote, "Denial ain't just a river in Egypt," Mark Twain. And, we all live in that wonderful world, but when it got to the point where it was affecting my day-to-day life, I had to reach out, and that's when I got the clinical test and the brain scans, and it's a slow progression, and maybe, which is helpful for your viewers. Everyone thinks of Alzheimer's as the end stage, okay, where you're in a hospital, nursing home, and you're almost comatose, and that's a journey in Alzheimer's, and you could go online. I'm actively involved with the Alzheimer's Association, working on a national advisory board on early onset Alzheimer's with the Cure Alzheimer's Fund in Boston, Us Against Alzheimer's in Washington, D.C., and all of the experts, the doctors, will tell you that this is a disease that can take 20, 25 years to run its course. It's like watching paint dry. And there are no two examples. Generally, it's like snowflakes of Alzheimer's that are the same, which makes it difficult. Sure, the disease can take you out quicker, as cancer can, and I also have cancer, and I'm not fighting it. I have prostate cancer, but it's my exit strategy, and it's just every day when you wake up, you're not quite sure who's going to show up, and so you have to. This, to me, and I'm honored by the focus of your show, is a faith journey for me. I'm probably one of the most imperfect human beings you'll ever meet, but there's that old saying, "Let go and let God." And I had the WTF, and you guys can figure out what that means.
Yes.
Talk with God the other day.
Yeah, you did.
I'm curious on how she does that with the hand signal. All right, and
let's do that slow.
To the Lord,
do WTF. She actually spells the letters WTF.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. Well, I want to get the audience smiling, so.
You definitely have us smiling. And let me just take a station identification in case those people are wondering who this really funny and poignant person that I get to speak to on today's show is Greg O'Brien, who's an award-winning journalist who has developed early onset Alzheimer's, and you are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at noon on Universal Broadcasting Network from the Sunset Gower Studios, and then syndicated on my CNBC News Radio channel KCAA, AM 1050 and FM 106.5 on Thursdays at 7 and Saturdays. So you can hear the entire show if you've just tuned in. But Greg O'Brien is talking about his, and this is the juicy part that I really want to know, because for you to have this disease, and then you just said that you have prostate cancer, which is your exit strategy, how can you have faith? How can you believe that it's that it's good? Like, how can you, like in your little documentary that made me cry, you're going out on the water, you love the water, and sometimes you think, maybe I'll just go out and not come back. And how do you not say WTF? How do you stay positive? How do you stay in that hope?
Well, I believe God has a sense of humor, and God is the essence of love. So I had the WTF talk with the Lord the other day and started out in my usual Irish arrogance. Lord, do you know who I am? And I believe God has a sense of humor and will reach you at any level. And also I believe God knows no gender. So God is God. Mm-hmm. And I heard the Lord say, yeah, dumbass, I made you. I know who you are, and I have you right where I want you. And you know, stuff like that keeps me going.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I am with him in that. I wouldn't call you a dumb A. I think you're more of a smart A than a dumb A to me. Anyways, from the little that I've gotten to know you. But I do believe that when you do transition, you're going to see my dad, who left because of lymphoma in 2000. And I believe that you are the quintessential example of why you're here on the planet, because you are taking what has happened to you and bringing so much hope and so much inspiration and so much education and so much benefit to those of us who don't know. And that's why you're here. This is not the end game. I really believe this is not the end game. And
Well, you
go ahead.
No, you try to get up every day and do it better. And I find in Alzheimer's and looking at cancer, I also have spinal stenosis, scoliosis, and degeneration of my spine. And I still go to the gym every day because I have this saying. And again, I'm going to curious how the woman handles it with the interpretation. But I'll just give you the paraphrase: these demons don't know who they're screwing with. And it's just pressing on, because I believe there's something bigger out there and bigger for me. And shame on me if it's and feel free to interrupt. I sometimes, doctor, I have to keep talking because I have a thought in my head and then it's gone. But I mean,
well,
a good example.
I don't have Alzheimer's, and that just happened to me at the beginning of the show. So you have a good reason for it. I don't. So please take your time. Do whatever that. I'm just so grateful to have you here talking to me. So.
My book on Pluto, Inside the Mind of Alzheimer's, and maybe the best place to get it is Amazon, although it's available in bookstores around the country and Barnes & Noble and others. But it's a book about living with this disease, not dying with it. The great Bugs Bunny once said, "Don't take life too seriously because nobody gets out alive." And when I got my diagnosis, what I did was immediately take close to 2,000 pages of notes of everything I didn't want to forget.
Wow.
And also chronicling my mother's disease. I was the family caregiver on Cape Cod. So she was at one end and I was at the other end, and
Did
we were
she
on
know?
parallel tracks. Yeah. Well, we took our Aricept together at times, which
Oh,
is
wow.
some of the medication that I'm on the legal limits for the strength of medications that hopefully slow a progression, but there is no cure. But today, Doctor, 60% of my short-term memory at times, not all the time, can be gone in 30 seconds.
Wow.
I
Well,
don't recognize people, including my wife on several occasions that I've known all my life. Um, Very regularly, people now are coming up and reintroducing themselves to me because I didn't, I don't know who they are. A small example, uh, I was on Nantucket, the island off Cape Cod, Friday, and I do some work consulting for Nantucket Cottage Hospital, which is a wonderful hospital. Well, one of the hospital administrators that I know very well saw me on the boat and came up and talked. I didn't know who he was.
mm,
And this happens to me all the time. But I knew I should know that it was important. And so I stayed and talked with him for 15 minutes and kept asking him questions until he'd said something about the hospital. And then it was like a curtain over my eyes. My eyes opened up and I realized that was it.
mm.
That's who he was, and that's what happens in Alzheimer's. It's I know out west there are probably not a lot of basements, but people have basements
True.
back here, and I say that ask people. It's akin to being in the basement doing your laundry at night when someone upstairs in the kitchen doesn't know you're there and turns the light off. Uh,
Oh,
when that happens, I drop F-bombs. People yell and scream, and that's part of the rage. I go into tremendous rage now,
oh,
and
that's tough.
where and there times also I see things that aren't there. They're hallucinations, and you shout and you scream just to try to turn that light back on. And it's the process is it flickers and almost like a plug in a socket that's loose. But at some
Mm.
point, the light goes dead, and it goes dead forever, and it's dark, and you know that day comes. And so you walk in faith, hope, and humor. Remember what Bugs Bunny said.
Yeah, yeah. Your analogies are particularly helpful. I know to me and to my listeners and anyone who is trying to understand or living with someone who is going through the disease. And I'm going to have a follow up show. I don't know if Kara told you. With your permission, I'd like to have your family on because
Sure.
it's difficult for you. I can't even imagine what it's like for your family. How do they stay hopeful? How do they? I mean, one, obviously, when you go into these rages, it must be painful. It must be, you can't take it personally. I mean, when you forget people, I can't take it personally if you don't know who I am. I mean, how is it best for people to support you in what you're going through and what the family's going through?
Well, I appreciate that question. The bigger answer I would like to give is how you support people in Alzheimer's. I'm just one of several million, and I had the God-given blessing of being a communicator early on,
No,
and
no mistake, no accident, no mistake.
and so I'm not stupid. I just have a disease. So what I'm trying to do while I can is focus on the communication of it, which doctors say I'm working off what they call a cognitive reserve, which is a backup of inherited intellect.
Wow.
And it's like a fuel tank. But my mother was like, I'm on the same path as my mom, but the lights keep going out, Marissa. And a couple of weeks ago, I don't sleep well at night. I got up, went to the bathroom, used my iPhone as the flashlight, as we all do,
Uh-huh.
and in the bathroom, in the moment, I didn't know where I was and who I was, and so I called the house to wake my wife up to ask where I was, and she was 20 feet away in the
Wow.
bed.
Wow.
and that's what it is it's a complicated disease. And I cut up a frog in high school, so that's all I know about medicine. But there, I would urge people to try to put stereotypes of this disease behind them. Mm-hmm. Understand that to some extent it may be the progression like watching paint dry, but the paint surely dries and the grass surely grows, even though sometimes you can't see it. And there are millions of people out there like me. I was saying this to someone the other day. I could fill people that I know, a whole room of people who are at my stage living with it, who can communicate, but there are other things that they can't do because the lights keep going out. And we need to take this disease seriously in the early stages. And I'm hoping that's one of the byproduct of this, on Pluto and other efforts that are out there.
Absolutely. If you have not read this book, it is a must-read, On Pluto, Inside the Mind of Alzheimer's. And I've been blessed, to give a copy away as an Asian Oprah giveaway at the end of the show. I'm not up to cars yet, but we do get to give out really good books. So stay tuned to the end of the show.
Okay?
Okay, I will definitely.
Oh, that was amazing, the first interview, and it's just as amazing every time I listen to it. I was reminded that I get to ask him back with his family, and we're going to restart that effort to try to do that. But I hope you enjoyed that. You can get the full interview with my fabulous guest, who, of course, won the Dr. Marissa Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award, Greg O'Brien, author of Finding Pluto, that you can still get everywhere. He's still doing interviews, and he has a Facebook page. Please go and support him. He's also on Twitter and a lot of other social, and he still writes, and I'm just blessing him, blessing his family through this time, and so grateful that I got to have him and one of my staff interpreters, Rowena, who was phenomenal doing her American Sign Language. So I hope you enjoyed it. I did. And we'll be back tomorrow for another fun, edutaining morning show on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, the station that leaves no listener behind. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live, reminding you that it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace.